Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get started with our first media availability of the morning. We'd like to welcome to the media center the team principal of Carlin, Trevor Carlin, and to his right, the new driver signed to the team, Patricio Award. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good morning. Morning.
The deal was announced on Thursday. Patricio, you'll be driving in a total of 13 races, 12 as the second team car, along with the third entry for the Indianapolis 500 in May. You have to be very excited about the news that came out.
I'm beyond excited. And first off, I want to thank Anderson Promotions and Road to Indy, because without this scholarship, I wouldn't have a chance to be in the IndyCar series. So that was, definitely something that I look back on after all the circumstances that took place mid-February, and I said, thank God I won the championship. So I'm super excited. I think this is a really cool new challenge. Carlin is a new team last year, so this is their second year in the IndyCar series, and they've proven to be winners. They're a very well-respected organization in Europe, so I've always watched them in Formula 2 and in other pretty prestigious categories, and they've proven to be winners. They know the formula. They know how to win, and that's what we're here for. I mean, someone that's in this sport to be in the back isn't here for the right reasons. So I'm really excited to start it off, and I just want to drive, man. I haven't been in a car since Sonoma, so I can't wait for my first test.
Very good, thank you. Trevor, as Pato mentioned, I mean, clearly all the success you've had in other categories around the world, you're a keen eye of talent. What is it about this young man that drew you to him and wanted him to be a part of your team?
I mean, part of the history with Carlin is we specialise in working with young drivers. So I'm always looking for talent, be it in Formula 4, Formula 3, Formula 2 or Indy Lights. And, thanks to our involvement in Indy Lights, it got us into the States. And of course, I'm looking at the young drivers. And I saw last year a fantastic battle with Patricio and Colton Herta. And Colton Herta obviously is an ex-Carlin driver from Europe in Formula 4 and Formula 3. And he had a young teammate, a kid called Lando Norris. So I saw Colton and Lando Norris fighting tooth and nail, and I said back in 2015 that Lando Norris will become a Formula 1 driver and Colton Herta will be an IndyCar driver, and that's happened. But also in the meantime, I've seen Patricio beat Colton. So to my mind, it's a really simple analogy. Patricio is as good as Colton and Lando, and he's going to be a future champion, so I'm super excited.
Well said, well said. And as your team approaches, this is your second season in the NTT IndyCar Series. How do you see the team developing and taking that next step forward that you want to take this season?
Well, 12 months ago, we were just about to enter our first ever IndyCar race. We'd only had our second car for a week. So the whole team, nobody in our team had done IndyCar before. So we're 12 months down the road. We're a well-organised team. I think our presentation is very high, so we've done everything necessary, but what we haven't had is results. And to get results, it's a package, and part of that package is the drivers. So having Patricio on board, we've done a load of good testing with R.C. Anderson, who showed us that there's more potential in the car. And of course, then what happens is our current drivers, Max and Charlie, they lift their game. So the whole thing is starting to spiral upwards, and we're very pleased. So our next target is podiums, and then when we can get regular podiums, then we'll fight for that elusive first win.
Sounds good, sounds good. Patricio, obviously, we were talking out in the hallway, and you wish you were racing here this weekend. Your first race will be the IndyCar Classic at Circuit of the Americas in a couple of weeks. You mentioned a little bit earlier about the road to Indy. Because all those series race on many of the same tracks that the NTT IndyCar Series races on, how is that going to help you as far as preparing for this season?
That's huge. It's huge because let alone when a car is new to you, it's a pretty big task to kind of apply it to a track, and whenever you don't know the track, it's double hard tasks on you. So it's really good to know the tracks, and the only ones I don't know, I think, are ovals. I know every single road course. Either I did it in IMSA or in Road to Indy, so the Indy Lights car really prepared me to kind of get an idea of just a faster car around Barber, around these high downforce tracks. Obviously, an IndyCar is going to be a different beast, but it gives you an idea of what the track is like, and I think that's definitely huge whenever track time may seem like, okay, 3 sessions is, more than we have in Indy Lights, but it goes by quick, and so it is definitely a big advantage to actually know the tracks. And I think I prepared myself quite well. The Indy Lights car prepared me quite well, and I think we showed it last year in Sonoma. Sonoma was a new car for me. It was a new track for me, and I think we came out pretty strong. So I'm excited for the IndyCar Classic. It's nice also because it's close to Mexico, so that's kind of like my home race. But I'm bummed I'm not here because I really enjoy racing here, even though last year I had a little mishap. But this place is really cool. It's kind of like a little Monaco scene. So I'm just going to enjoy watching this weekend and just, go full on speed in Austin.
Sounds great. While we're on the subject of the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires, we do want to acknowledge Dan Anderson of Anderson Promotions, who operates all 3 levels of that great series, which is a tremendous development ladder for the NTT IndyCar Series. Dan, thank you. At this time, we'd like to open it up for questions. We have a handheld mic. We'll start with Bruce over here on my right.
This is for Trevor, because you've come up so much in the junior ranks, having an Indy Lights team. Do you think in some ways that will really help with the development of Pato? Because you know what it's like making the step from Indy Lights up to IndyCar as a team owner. A lot of times an Indy Lights driver may end up on a experienced long-term IndyCar team, and they don't really have a whole lot of opportunity to show what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, part of our the way our team works is we work as a unit, so team and drivers. So we're trying to help the drivers all the time. We're not one of those teams that say, right, there's the perfect car, you get in and drive it that way. We want to work with the driver to make the car better for him, nurture him, help with the video and the data. So our business model is training kids from karting all the way through to Formula One, and we keep on doing it even when it's IndyCar and Formula 2. No one's perfect at this sport, and we just try and help these kids all the way.
Down here.
¿Qué tal, Patricio? Buenos días, Iván Martínez de 13 México. ¿Cuál sería el mensaje para la comunidad de México en especial y para la comunidad hispana? Y si ya tienes el número con el que vas a correr en la categoría de Indy, y cómo fue precisamente llegar a la negociación con este gran equipo.
Bueno, pues les mando un saludo y eso todavía se está decidiendo. Se va a anunciarlo en unos días o unas semanas. Y pues como me puse en contacto con Trevor fue pues cuando yo me salí del contrato del otro que tenía. Empecé pues a ver opciones y nos pusimos en contacto y empezamos a hablar. Y total, como que se empezó a formar las cosas. Sí se puede, bla, bla, bla. Y se formó algo bueno, y yo siempre he visto al equipo de Carlin con mucho prestigio, porque es un equipo que sabe hacer las cosas y es un equipo ganador, y eso es lo que necesitas. Necesitas a un dueño de equipo y a gente en el equipo que te quiera y que te apoye, porque si no tienes ese apoyo, ese extra que vas a necesitar, como es una categoría tan competitiva, es imposible hacer las cosas bien si no tienes todo el apoyo. Entonces estoy muy agradecido de la oportunidad que tengo con Carlin, y pues bueno, vamos a empezar en Austin y seguro va a ser una buena. Me gusta esa pista y estoy seguro que vamos a hacer muy buenas cosas este año. The question was what number I'm going to use and how we got in contact. The number, it will be announced in a few days or in a few weeks. And how we got in contact, when I got released, I started to look at options, and I reached out to Trevor, and then we got in contact. And then, well, he had some open races. I didn't have anything, and then I said, okay, let's go. So something nice really came up, and we have almost a full season, which is really, really nice. And I think a lot of people weren't expecting it after all the circumstances that took place. So I think it's really cool news, and it's really important to be with a team that believes in you and that supports you, because it's a really competitive series, and whenever you don't have that little extra from everybody, you're going to be at the back. So I'm sure they know that I'm going to give it my 100%, and I'm sure they're going to give me their all.
Trevor, how's your Spanish? David, go ahead.
Pato, one of the things that rookies traditionally struggle with is getting used to the red tyres, because they never have a chance to run on them before the first second practice.
Yeah.
One of the things that was notable about you at Sonoma is that you didn't have that struggle in terms of qualifying, and then I know we listened to you on the radio, and you're having some struggles making them last during the race. Is there anything that you can do to kind of like speed up your education on that? I mean, like, will you be paying attention to what's going on with Charlie and Max this weekend?
Yeah, I'm definitely listening into what's going on, but it's really hard until you try it. Is when you really start getting adapted to it, and the red tire does have a lot more grip than the black tire. I think in Sonoma, honestly, I just, full send mode. You basically just have to believe that the car is gonna be able to do it. If it doesn't, then you see what you can do to save it. But it usually works, because when I was in Sonoma, and I went up the hill and then in the fast corners, and I had no idea how the car was gripping up, but it was working. I said, well, if it's working this much better here, it's going to work this much better everywhere else. So everywhere I just went a lot deeper and a lot faster, and it gripped up. And then I kind of had an idea of what the tire is like. When it gives up, it's very different to the black tire. So that was a little hard. That's why I had a little off, in Q2. And but it's hard, man. Whenever it's a new tire, it's really hard to get used to it, especially when you just have one lap to do it. But it's nice to feel the grip.
And sorry, I was just noting the alarm on Trevor's face as you were describing that way of driving. Find the limit and then go over it. Yeah. Do you think it's the Cooper tyre that you got used to in junior Formula? Is that a bit more like the black tyre?
Yes, yeah. The Cooper tire is way more like a black tire. It's a more of a harder compound, because the tires have to last a lot longer. But yeah, the red one is unquite anything I've ever tried before. So when I first drove him, I was pretty impressed with the tire, because I mean, to me it was unreal what it was capable of doing. But yeah, I think the black tire is more of a characteristic like the Cooper, because you have around 2 or 3 peak laps, and the red tire, I mean, you go out and you have to be really nice with it, and the first flying lap is usually, well, at least I was in Sonoma, that was the first one, and then the next lap was at least half a second up. So yeah, so there's a very, very big difference, and car setup kind of changes a little bit as well, so you kind of have to tune to it based on what track you're at. So it's a pretty hard it's a hard balance to find.
Mark?
Mark Cipollone, Auto Racing One. I have a question for Patricio as well as Trevor. You have a couple races where you're not funded for currently. I know Carlos Slim supports a lot of drivers in F1 and other series. Do you have a relationship with Carlos Slim in terms of maybe getting some more money to fill in those gaps?
I have talked to him, actually. I've talked to him a few times. But as of now, nothing has come up. He's gonna keep me posted if something comes up on his side, and I'm hustling hard on my side. But I feel like results are what ultimately give you the power to be able to have just more of a leverage whenever you go to sponsors or whenever you want some help. So I'm kind of relying on that right now.
Fair enough. Trevor, can you talk about the relationship with McLaren for the 500 and how you think that's going to help Patricio as a rookie and their experience in F1 and then some of the technology that they might be bringing to your program?
Yeah, I mean, it's the McLaren program. We're helping them as a logistical and operational partner on this project. It's interesting. We're both, our team is based very close to McLaren in the UK, so we've got a good relationship already. They're good guys. I mean, they get into things at a very deep level. You know, they've got a massive resource, big company. Obviously for them, it's this is a spec car, a spec formula, so a lot of the things they'd love to do, they're not allowed to do. So we're trying to help them understand what they can and can't do. But I'm sure they'll be pushing the boundaries, and ultimately we will benefit from what they learn with Fernando. So it should be a win-win. We're giving them a baseline, and hopefully they'll take it forward, and we'll piggyback along that journey.
Real quick, one final question. How did that relationship come about? How did you make that connection?
Well, as I said, we're friends of McLaren. You know, a lot of my friends work there, and Mr. Chilton, my business partner, is great friends with Zach Brown, so the whole thing just works. It's just connected.
Thank you.
Question for both Patricio and Trevor. Talking about budgets are a huge problem, and the road to Indy is obviously a road to the top of the series. Given the problems, Patricio, you've had as a driver securing a drive, and Trevor, you as a team owner with the limited amount of budget that the winner brings, do you not think that there should be a better program in place with perhaps a seat being guaranteed for the next year for the winner of the Indy Lights?
I think it's the difference of lights in IndyCar. It's a big step. It's a very, very big step in terms of budgets. The operation in an IndyCar is a lot bigger than Indy Lights. You know, in Indy Lights you might have, you know, 2 mechanics, 1 engineer, and everybody, you know, your teammates are all within there. In IndyCar you have like, I haven't counted, but it's like 10 mechanics, engineers, and there's just the operation is so much bigger. So I'm sure that's why the prices really go up. And the traveling is a lot heavier, so I'm just thankful that I have those 3 races and at least something to showcase what you have in such a competitive series, and we're trying to make the most out of it.
Sort of from my side, I'm from Europe, European racing. Firstly, there's nothing like this. It Mazda Road to Us, not Mazda anymore, but the Road to Indy program. There's nothing like this in Europe. So even though it doesn't guarantee a full budget for IndyCar, the fact that you can take a kid from karting through the whole program, USF, Pro Mazda, Indy Lights, IndyCar, is quite incredible in itself. And at the end of the day, you know, we all know motor racing is expensive. It'd be foolish for us always to expect someone else to pay for it, but to get a massive contribution, you know, over $1 million towards the season and the Indy 500, I think is pretty amazing. And of course, the drivers and the teams, we'd like to have more of a prize fund, and perhaps as the championship grows, as it currently is, there might be a way to get an extra, you know, $200,000 or $300,000 to help that project. So if you could get the figure up to $2 million, it would make the next champion's life just that little bit easier. But you know, you can't argue with the amount of drivers that have come through the ladder are now professionally, the champions are professionally racing in IndyCar, so the system does work, for sure.
Any further questions? Oh, let's go back to Bruce way in the far corner. Tell you, go ahead and just start it out, Bruce, and then I'll repeat it for the trans driver. So the question is, what the value of the scholarship to get a foothold in the series?
It's huge. It's huge because I think, like Trevor said, there's nothing quite like it anywhere else, and I feel like that what makes this whole kind of ladder system so attractive to drivers is because they get at least a little hop into the next category to get a little chance. You know, that's basically all you need to showcase what you have, and then. Obviously, then team owners and other teams are gonna decide whether they want you or not. But it's really nice to know that there are some races guaranteed in the scholarship, and that's what I think is best, because you're not relying on, oh, what if something doesn't come up? What if someone doesn't take me under their wing? You know, so you have guaranteed 3 races, and I think that's what kind of kept me calm, actually, whenever all this happened, and that's what kept me calm whenever situations weren't looking the best, and it's nice to have that. It's really nice, and I think the value of that is a lot, because in those 3 races, one of them is the biggest race in the world, and the other ones you can really showcase, I think, what you have if you have some a good team behind you.
And I don't know if fate is the proper word, maybe destiny, but do you kind of feel like you were destined to end up with this team all along?
I think I've landed exactly where I need to be, actually. I'm really excited. I'm really happy because like I said, it's a team that knows how to win, and it's just a matter of time where we start winning, we start getting poles, we start getting podiums, and I mean, like I said, this is why we are here. If we're here to be 5th and 10th, then what are we doing here? It's way too much money to be just throwing around, So I know Trevor's a winner. He likes winning. The whole team likes winning. I like winning. And I think we're going to mesh quite well.
Very good. Any further questions? All right, with that, gentlemen, thank you, Trevor, Patricio, Dan, and